Why are you beatboxing in the hallway? Hey guys, it's your girl Sierra. Welcome and welcome back to my channel. This is part 2 of couples that I wish existed in Degrassi. Let's just jump right on it. First couple, Hazel and anyone, I swear. But specifically, I would say a mystery guy. Like I feel like the writers, producers, and directors should have made a character just for Hazel because she already dated Jimmy. We don't care about Jimmy. I don't think she should have been with Craig because obviously if you watch the first video, Craig is meant to be with Marco. Duh. That leaves Spinner. I don't think Hazel and Spinner would have been a good couple anyway. Spinner's supposed to be with Terry. So who's left? No one really. We get Chris that ends up dating Emma, but even then, I don't even like Chris. Chris doesn't give us anything because, obviously, they wrote him out anyway. Why are you beatboxing in the hallway? Regardless, Hazel needed just someone. Someone literally designed for her. Okay? Period, point blank. Next up, Shay and Winston. And I say this with all my heart as an AMBW girly. I love the pairing, especially when the relationship is built on respect, loyalty, and appreciation. The actual a good AMBW relationship. If you don't know what that is an Asian man and a black woman. When it's built on respect from both parties, mainly from the Asian party, as long as it's built on respect, love, and genuine care for the other person, it can be a beautiful relationship. Oh my God. And I feel like with them, it would have been so cool to see because especially when we're going back to the Shay video I did, if you haven't seen it, I'll put the link up in the description box or up here. I'll put it somewhere. Anyway, it'll pop up. But when Shay had her incident in the science class, when all of the padding was in her pants, who was in the shot? Winston. And he's just like standing there, he's just like confused for a minute, but he's not like revolted or like, oh my God, what the fuck is going on? He's very much just like, huh, okay, this is weird. And Winston is such a chill guy. He's very confident. He's assertive but not aggressive. And he is not, he doesn't stray away from being awkward, weird, or just having fun. He's just a cool dude. And I feel like in that situation, it would have been so freaking cool to see him like talk to Shay afterwards and been like, hey, so that was interesting. Like, I would have loved to have seen like an interaction between them after that. Because also, just going back to what I said about Winston being just a confident guy, I feel like Winston would have made a comment towards Shay of just being like, that was weird, and been like, oh my God, it was so embarrassing. It was just like, I just got, Shay could have said anything of just being like, I felt like I needed to look a certain way, and Winston could have been like, no, you look fine. You look beautiful. Like something like simply straight up like that, and I feel like Winston wouldn't overdo it. He would just like say it. Especially like he is such a chill dude. Like he does get a little like nervous around Frankie when they were together, but I feel like after that Winston has just become just like he's always been like a really cool dude, but I feel like after that he just would have been like, yeah, I mean, you're cute, what do you mean, feel like you need to change yourself? What are you doing, Layla? So yeah, I feel like he really would have helped her battling her body image and just really finding a lot of acceptance in herself and feeling good about herself. I feel like he really would have helped her with that. And I could see him like hyping her up a lot. Like I feel like if ever Shay would like do something different with her hair, if she ever wanted to do something different with her hair, or if she just was wearing like a new shirt, I feel like he would just be like, oh my God, you look great. Let's go out tonight. Like I feel like he would be that kind of character to really just like hype her up. Because I mean, we've seen Winston hype up Miles, be extremely supportive of Miles and everything that he was going through, and just such a good guy that I feel like he would have literally just been like her day one, like her hype man, her day one, everything. I feel like that would have been Winston. yeah. I feel like for Shay, for Winston, Shay would just literally just be extremely supportive, very caring. And they're both so passionate about what they are interested in, like, because Winston does Degrassi TV. So it seems like he's very interested in being like a spokesperson, that type of thing. He's very confident. He can very like man, he feels like he'd be like a really good like manager or like director, because he even ran Miles's campaign for school presidency, and he did a damn good job, minus the fact that they blew the budget for the party. But Winston was down for the cause. He was down to just work as hard as possible for Miles to become president. And I feel like with Shay would just amp that up even more, because she loves her track. She loves track. She loves doing what she loves to do. He loves to do what he loves to do. I feel like they would just be extremely supportive of each other and hype each other up. I feel like that would just been a really interesting couple too, especially because that does happen. Sometimes your friend does get with your ex-boyfriend, and so we did kind of have that with Lola and Shay. But to be quite honest, Lola and Tiny were never gonna click anyway, so I feel like that was kind of like a thrown about way of being like, oh, your friend gets with your ex-boyfriend. I feel like it would have been very, very, very interesting to see how Frankie takes Winston being with somebody different, because Frankie took that relationship, that breakup, hard. Like, that was her struggle the entire first season, pretty much, of her breakup with Winston. So I feel like it would have been very interesting to see Frankie navigating her friendship with Shay, while Shay is slowly starting to like Winston. I feel like it would have just been really cool just to see like that dynamic. But anyway, moving on. Next couple is Liberty and Sean. And I know I said in the last video, we don't always need the opposites attract couple, like the good girl and the bad boy. But this one, I feel like would have been very interesting. They're both two dynamic characters. I feel like Sean would have showed Liberty how to stand up for herself. And Liberty would have helped him to become more secure in himself and his abilities to do anything. Like, Sean just really struggled with finding a sense of security. And I feel like Liberty would have helped him with that, because Liberty is so sure of herself. She's so sure of her interests and what she wants of life. And I feel like she would have helped Sean out when it comes to figuring out what he wants. Also, I just would love to have seen the Liberty pull the "but daddy, I love him" card, because her parents are such professional people, very Black excellence. I would have loved to have seen them like talk with Sean and being like, him? Because they kind of do that with JT, but JT, we don't get that much about my background about JT, but we do know his mom. We hear about his mom, we hear about his grandma, but that's it. But I really would have loved to have seen Sean, our messy background Sean, with Liberty. And also, I feel like Sean and Danny as friends would have been very interesting too, just to see how Danny would be able to see both sides of what it's like growing up. He's got the privileged life, but he also would see from Sean's perspective of what life can really throw at you. And also with Danny being the younger sibling, he would have gotten more of a diverse experience and knowledge versus what Liberty got, because Liberty just got hit with the pregnancy, but she really didn't have to navigate that much of a huge like culture or even just societal issues up until college, when they made the whole like we only have to have like one Black person quota, but that was like literally it that Liberty experienced, to be quite honest. So I feel like Danny would have been like, it kind of sucks on both ends, or like there's certain things that you learn from both sides, especially as a Black man too. You're a Black man, but you are from a privileged family. But if you hang out with Sean on the wrong side of the neighborhood, they're going to immediately stereotype you. I feel like that would be very interesting to see too for Danny's character. We see it for him later on dealing with Derek at the mall with the underwear situation. But in that context, I feel like it would have been very interesting. But I feel like Liberty and Sean together just would have been very, very interesting couple. Next up is Kendra and JT, because Kendra could have shown him that he needed to take things seriously, and he would have found like a level of confidence and power within himself. And I feel like it would just give Kendra a boyfriend too, to be quite honest, because Toby was too scared of Spinner, and I feel like JT is also scared of Spinner, but he also was like very much like, I'm willing to be cool, like I want more. And I feel like with Kendra would be like, if you want it, go for it, don't be a bitch about it, do it. And Toby was too scared. Like, Toby was too scared to do that. But JT, I feel like if he got like a swift kick in the butt, he would have done more, to be quite honest, besides just trying to get with Paige. Next up is probably a controversial one. And this one is because one of the characters pisses me all the way off. If you see my other videos, you know who I'm talking about. And that is Zoe and Maya. Wow. First of all, I know, wild. But I feel like, first of all, the first point to make is that an actress and a musician together would have been very interesting, very cool. Part of the same industry, but different sides of it, you know? It would have been very interesting. Also, if we just like dialed down the things that Zoe had done and just trying to like just minimize it, it could have been a level of jealousy. And not just the level of jealousy that we saw of like Zoe feeling as if Maya could have anything and everything, because we do see that scene of when the tornado comes and actually in the dot, finally airing everything out and trying to connect as friends. But I feel like after that, Zoe would have seen that she kind of likes Maya, and not just because she's jealous of her, but because she truly admires Maya. Like, I would have loved to have seen something like that, besides the whole, you get SA'd, you get assaulted, and then we find out, then you start to deal with your sexuality, and then you're gay. Because I feel like we've had that plot line so many times in Degrassi, and it kind of made me frustrated that was the only representation of finding out your sexuality. Like, Marcos was very much just like him trying to, you know, baby, like, oh, I'm gay and I'm struggling with that identity. We had Jack, who's just obviously gay. Fiona, she was just like questioning her feelings, but I feel like it felt like it was just so traumatic and daunting that we had this immediate, like, this thing of getting assaulted, going gay. And I understand that happens, but I would love to have just seen not that. We had it with Paige, and I feel like with Zoe, it kind of was what made people like Zoe after that. Like, that was her determining moment where people started to like Zoe, and I feel like that wasn't fair to Zoe as a character, because she still was a terrible character. Everything prior, she was still terrible. That was not a good moment to people to actually start to like her as a character. I feel like if we didn't have that at all, that whole situation, and if just Zoe was just jealous of Maya, but then actually started to like her, it would have made, I feel like it would make sense as to why Zoe would go to the levels that she did before when it came to dealing with Maya and being jealous. Not because she's jealous of Maya being with Miles, but of seeing Maya smile. Like, it would have been like certain things like that. I feel like that would have been a very interesting way of building that up. And also just to see them like get there type of thing, and Maya just trying to process, well, you've done some terrible things, like, I don't know why you hate me. And it's like, I don't hate you, it's just like I have feelings for you. Like, somehow, like, some way that'll come about. And I don't mean like immediately Maya would be like, oh my god, I'm into you too, but like watching how that changes the circumstances between them over time would have been very interesting to see, versus what we did get from Zoe. I feel like that would just been a very interesting dynamic of their relationship, and also having Maya open up even more when it comes to talking about Cam and her constant fear and anxiety revolved around people close to her, and being scared of that, like that type of thing. I don't know. I just feel like it just would have been very interesting to see them as a couple. Next up is Sav and Chantay. I know y'all probably didn't think about that, but I feel like they would have been an interesting couple because Sav would have had more of his own life because Chantay stayed busy, okay? Chantay had the Grapevine, she had her friends, she had cheer. She was booked and busy. Like you couldn't stop her from doing anything if you stop her from doing what she loved. Like you couldn't. Sav would have been like, oh, I'm going skateboard. She's like, okay, cool. She's like, then we can hang out the dot later. He would have been an extremely independent character. I feel like we would have had more of him doing more music or even just getting into more hobbies. We would have seen him more outside of just being the good Indian son and the Anya mess. I feel like we really would have just seen him grow even more as a character into other interests or even just flourishing even more because Chantay would have been like, look, I'm busy. We can do this, we can do that. They would have had a very interesting dynamic too as well. I feel like they also would have taken over the entertainment industry. Her with the blog or like her own version of TMZ, and while Sav is like making music. Oh, that would have been so interesting. Now the last couple is Chantay and Damian. That is if she stayed in her year. So I feel like they would just been ultimate like Black excellence. And I feel like Dave would have had someone to connect to outside of trying to be popular. I feel like he would have seen Damian, would have been like, you know what, I want to be like Damian. And we wouldn't have gotten the mess that we've gotten from Dave. But I feel like they just would have been Black excellence. Very powerful, very, just like very in it, you know. I don't know what Damian would have done career-wise or what he would have been interested in, but I feel like they just would have been a very like powerful couple together because Chantay needed somebody and she also needed to be in her class anyway, to be quite honest. But that's all that I have for this video. If you like this video, be sure to like it. Comment below a couple that you would have liked to have seen in Degrassi. Until next time, stay magical. Bye.